Listen to this. Widespread corruption and maladministration with billions in the Water and Sanitation Department have been laid bare in Parliament today. The Special Investigating Unit says officials are getting off scot-free as its recommendations are largely ignored. So widespread are the claims of corruption in the department that the SIU is now working on a motivation to the President to allow it to probe more projects. Live now to Cape Town, covering that story for us, parliamentary reporter Lindsay Dentlinger. Good afternoon to you and welcome. So how widespread is this corruption and maybe more importantly, who's responsible?
Jeremy, this is really becoming a tired story in Parliament. The corruption in the Water and Sanitation Department, well known, dating back to 2017, 2018. There were talks of a parliamentary inquiry into the extent of the corruption. That was then put in abeyance as the fifth Parliament was coming to an end, saying maybe it would be taken forward in this Parliament. But Jeremy, a lot of repetition dating back to 2012. That's how long the SIU has been investigating various projects. But really what's emerged today is to what extent officials within the department are doing business with the Water and Sanitation Department, and more frighteningly, as you're pointing out there, they're just getting away with it. The SIU has recommended that at least 40 million rand be recovered just from officials not declaring the fact that they have companies, that they are doing business with the Water and Sanitation Department. And I should add, Jeremy, that these are largely lower level officials, admin clerks, accounting clerks, doing business, their names of their companies listed there for which they just never owned up to, and almost more than 30 referrals being made to the NPA, to SARS, operating companies that don't even have tax clearance certificates. So really, Jeremy, it is so broad that the SIU says they now want to also investigate such projects like the War on Leaks, the Bucket Eradication Program, the Sedibeng Water Board. And you'll remember just last week, the Finance Minister warning in Parliament that the crisis that water boards are in is just now coming home to roost. And this is really just the extent of what the SIU has been investigating all along. We know 3 major cases now currently before the special tribunal. One of them, that billion rand SAP contract awarded by the department. Another being the Guyani project, which we've covered extensively, and Parliament hearing again today that the Water Department were paying something like 1.4 million rand for a borehole that in effect should only cost about 100,000 rand. So Jeremy, it's jaw-dropping. It is so extensive that you can't really just hone into one particular aspect.
I'm glad that you raised the consequences, because the impact of all of this has an adverse effect on delivery, particularly in a water-poor country. So we then need to ask the question about what is wrong with systems, with process, with protocol. Why are officials getting away with this?
The head of the SIU, Jeremy, Andy Matibi, telling Parliament today that they've really making a greater effort to follow through on these processes, because they say simply their recommendations to discipline officials, to take civil litigation, criminal steps against them, they are able to obviously follow a civil and a criminal process as the SIU, but they cannot do anything about disciplining these officials, and that's really where everything is falling between the cracks. Their recommendations are simply being ignored. We heard today that in some cases it's taken 4 years and the department has failed to act against these officials. Very often they resign, they move to another department, and the SIU now going to the extent of tracking them down to the departments where they are moving to, and then instituting or recommending that action gets instituted against them. The Public Service Administration Act does allow you to follow an official to where they've gone and to put charges to them in another department where they might have committed the offence. So really that is the struggle the SIU saying that they're facing, that departments just simply ignoring, throwing the files aside and just doing absolutely nothing. These officials just getting away with it.
All right, Lindsay Dentlinger in Cape Town, we'll leave it there. But